Talk about Amon Green, but really the trigger man in this one's going to be Scott Frost.
Yeah, you know, Scott Frost is really going to be the one that has to go up there to Washington and try to handle this crowd. I think Scott Frost can do it. I had a chance to sit down with Scott Frost this week and talk about some of these things, as well as handling the pressure as a Nebraska quarterback.
We get a ton of attention, obviously. I think the quarterback gets all the attention on the team, whether he deserves it or not. You get credit when things go great, and I'll get more blame than you probably deserve when things go wrong. And I've experienced both sides of that. So it's just something you have to put up with when you're a quarterback, and I think anybody out there that plays that position will tell you the same thing.
Of course, everybody knows Tommy Frazier played here and had a lot of success, and you know, following a guy that had that kind of success, and talk a little bit about how that's been.
I think it was just a tough situation for the entire team last year. You know, expectations around here were really high after winning 2 straight national championships, and we were ranked first going into the season, and people expected us to be able to win every game. And we had a couple letdowns, and I think we probably had the talent to do it again last year, but sometimes the ball's just got to bounce right for you, and it puts a lot of pressure on you as a player and as a team when people are looking for that.
You've played this Washington team before, and you know, some different players, but you faced that defense before. You know a little bit about them. Yeah,
I ran a little bit of different offense when I faced them last time, but I went into the second quarter in '94, and we ended up beating them. So it was a fun game out at Stanford, and I'd like to have the same result Saturday.
You know, Mike, I really think that this is a defining game for Scott Frost. This game will be determined whether he goes down as just another quarterback at Nebraska or really one of the great ones. I mean, here's a guy, if you look on paper, he's averaging 60% of his passes are completed and 5.2 yards a carry. But Scott Frost doesn't have to do it himself, Mike. Grant Wistrom, all everything defensive, and I talked this week, and he said Nebraska has a blitz package for Washington that they have not shown at all this year. Don't worry about their struggle in the first 2 games. They've got a blitz package. They're going to get after Brock Heward, disrupt this Washington offense. He's pretty confident Nebraska can win this game.
They got to stop Brock Heward, tops in the land in passing efficiency, almost completing 70% of his passes. Running back Rashawn Sheehy. With all that said, who do you like, Herbie Husker?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with Nebraska here, Mike, and don't be surprised if Nebraska is losing at the half. They're going to hope that down the stretch in the 3rd and 4th quarter they start wearing this team down. I think for Nebraska to have a chance, it's got to be a relatively close game and low scoring.
All right.
Cementing the importance of this September Saturday on the national title picture was the matchup in the Northwest. Number 2 Washington, with a win over visiting Nebraska, could propel themselves to the top of the polls. The Huskies number 1 against the run, and the Huskers 2nd in the nation, averaging 418 rushing yards per game. Something had to give, and we found out early it was not going to be Cornhusker quarterback Scott Frost. No purple rain would slow up a Nebraska contingent that came out running. Scott Frost keeping it on the option in the first, cutting upfield, out of the daylight, into the shadows, 34-yard touchdown, Nebraska on the board. Meanwhile, the Huskers putting big pressure on Washington QB Brock Heward. Look out, sacked by Chad Kelsey near his own end zone, and there was plenty more where that came from, and plenty more of this. The incredible 34-yard touchdown run by Frost, avoiding everybody over the goal line. 14-0 Nebraska jump out. Then Grant Wistrom all over Heward. He goes down to the ground, and Heward would have to leave the game via stretcher. Sprained left ankle, x-rays negative, Huskies fans. And this is freshman QB Marquise Tuiasopopo hitting Reed for the 2-yard touchdown, leading the cheering section, Heward. But Nebraska had more of their own. Joel Makovica busting out on the 44-yard run that would eventually lead to a Chris Brown field goal. The Huskers had it going on, 27-14 final. Nebraska fans booed Scott Frost last week when the Huskers struggled against Central Florida. But Frost gave a worthy performance today, running for 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nebraska had 384 yards rushing to just 43 for Washington. Washington suffers its first loss at home in 2 years.